I've lived here for about 4 years now, and I've had 6 or 7 guests come visit me. I always get excited when this happens, since I love sharing my new home with people coming from Canada or elsewhere in the world. Sometimes they come without knowing what to expect, and I also really enjoy shattering any preconceived ideas they might have about Lithuania, this once Soviet-occupied country. A lot of visitors only stay for like 3 or 4 days, often just passing through to somewhere else. And so now that I've had enough guests, all staying roughly the same period of time, I realize that I've somewhat developed my own little itinerary for what to do when they come to Vilnius. I like to pretend sometimes that I'm a tour guide, and I guess to my friends and family, I am a guide of sorts. But I thought it would be fun to compare my list of things to see and do with a professional tour guide and what they would do in the same period of time. And so that is the topic for today's video. Meet Lina of the company Baltic Odyssey.
Hello!
She's been a tour guide now for over 7 years, and I've challenged her to build a 3 to 4 day itinerary. We agreed to build this itinerary for visitors to Vilnius separately and then reveal them to each other afterwards to see the differences. So in presenting our itineraries, I'll go first, since it will probably be simpler. First of all, most of my friends have arrived in the early afternoon, so I'm going to use that as the starting time. And so in these cases, I would meet them at Vilnius airport and then take them to the city. Of course, if they're my friends, then they're staying at my apartment. But this might not always be the case. It depends on how much space is needed and if these guests can put up with our cat and baby. Nonetheless, after they reach whatever accommodation is planned, I would give them 2 to 3 hours of downtime to shower and nap or rest. And then after this period of resting, we head to the city center. My first stop is almost always the top of Gedimino Castle Hill. I feel like it's a great way to be introduced to the city of Vilnius. You can see the layout and orientation of everything, including the river, the business district, the old town, and surrounding areas. It's also not too energy intensive to get up there, so it feels rewarding even if it's quite accessible. By this point, it's getting close to dinner time, and so we wander into the old town for food. The first meal for me would be at Šnekutis. The prices are good, the service is typically pretty fast, and there's a wide variety of traditional Lithuanian dishes to introduce to the visitors. The following day, after breakfast, I take my friends to the old town. Here's where I personally cheat a little bit, because since I'm not a full-on knowledgeable tour guide, I put them on an old town walking tour, almost always with my friends over at Vilnius with Locals. Sometimes I join them, other times I meet them at the end because I have work to do and can't take time off. But we always grab lunch afterwards. If they like Lithuanian food and want more, we can just do another Lithuanian place. But in terms of other decently priced, nice restaurants in the old town, Casa della Pasta is one of the places that I like to visit occasionally. After all this, it's a bit more relaxed and we wander east of the old town towards the defensive wall and the new neighborhood of Popys. Maybe we check out the Gates of Dawn along the way too, because that's not part of the walking tour. After that, it's dinner somewhere on Gedimino Prospectus. Alternately, maybe we take a break at the hotel or apartment and then have dinner. Because let's face it, being a tourist can be pretty tiring. Anyways, after that, if there's enough energy, I would show visitors around the Seimas area and maybe discuss Lithuania's independence a little bit. And then finally, on the last full day, for me it's a trip to Trakai. We'll head there by train after breakfast and then walk from the train station to the castle. There we spend some time walking around and going inside the castle before going for lunch. I guess an introduction to Kibinė while in Trakai is a must. But then, after lunch, we can hop on a boat and go sailing around the lake. There are always guys offering boat rides in the summertime. And then finally, we take the train back to Vilnius. I don't have any dinner or touring plans after this. Instead, I leave it as open time to let guests decide what to do. Maybe some packing and planning for the next destination is required anyways. And then on the final day, assuming it's a midday flight from the airport, we have breakfast, maybe spend a little bit more time in the old town, and then it's off to catch the flight. So that's it for me. But how different is this plan from something conceived by a professional tour guide? Well, here's what Lina came up with for our 3 to 4 day itinerary challenge.
Hello, welcome to Lithuania. Laba diena. I am Lina. I'm a professional tour guide for over 7 years and I have my own agency which is called Baltic Odyssey. So I put the best thing I have on to show you Lithuanian tradition and Lithuanian clothes. So the plan is to explain what we can see in 3.5 days. The first day, let's assume you come the first day on the afternoon, and what you should see that afternoon. Vilnius Old Town is relatively small, but it's easy to get around. So if you, for example, book a guided tour, afterwards it's easy to remember the streets and walk on your own and visit the highlights. I would start with the cathedral because the birth of Vilnius was in the cathedral square. There is the legendary Grand Duke of Gediminas sculpture there, and the legend of the Iron Wolf is shown on Gediminas sculpture. I would go inside the cathedral, and one important thing you have to do there is spin on the miracle tile. So there is a tile where you have to make a wish and turn around 3 times. And then your wish will come true, or you have to come back to Lithuania. Then I would go to Pilies Street, so it's one of the oldest streets of Vilnius, and I would start with the hardest part, have Lithuanian beer and eat black fried bread with cheese. There are cheap chains, there's a lot of Lithuanian food, so I would try one of those restaurants like Etnodvaras, Pilies Street and Katpėdelės restaurant, or Grey. So these are my advices. Then I would continue to Literatų Street. Literatų Street is one of my favorites. It's very cute, very beautiful, very artsy. And I would go there in Senamiesčio krautuvėlė. It's an ecological shop run by a woman that is really nice, and there you can taste some authentic food. And the shop itself is very pretty and very Lithuanian too. Then I would go to an amber gallery. There are 2 in Mykola Street. And actually it's the Misgeris family who opened those 2 galleries. And it's an amber shop, but they also have a small museum. And you can ask the girls there to tell you about amber. There are 7 different colors of ambers, why there are different colors, why some are cheaper, how to know which amber is true, which is not. It's really nice, very interesting shop, but also museum and free. Then I would go to Užupis, which is the art district, is the Lithuanian Montmartre. And there I would stroll around the river of Vilnelė, which Vilnius city name comes from, and also go to see the constitution of Užupis. And finally on that day I would go to the Vilnius University bell tower. So it's about €5. It's open until 7 o'clock. You have to make sure, look at the opening hours, because from October to end of April it's closed due to weather conditions. But it's one of the highest buildings in the old town, and about less than 70 meters high. And there you can see all the panorama of the buildings in the old town. So it's very beautiful, and not everybody knows it, so I invite you to go there. So day number 2, I would suggest that you continue visiting the old town. There are about 50 churches, Catholic churches in Vilnius. One of my favorite ones is the Holy Spirit Orthodox Church. It's near the Gate of Dawn. And for me, it's very beautiful, very unique. There's a very nice vibe to it. So I would go there because it's a little bit in a courtyard. So not all the tourists go there because they think it's private. But actually in Vilnius, you can visit a lot of hidden courtyards, and they are very pretty and full of surprises. Then, since you would be already near the Gate of Dawn, I would suggest you go to Halės Market, where you can see also Lithuanian food. There's also one Lithuanian restaurant where you can eat cepelinai, but it's open every day. Make sure you go until 2 o'clock, because afterwards there are not many people there and not many people that are selling stuff. And on Monday it's closed. And in the afternoon, I would go to Trakai. So Trakai is a small village about 45 minutes from Vilnius, where there is a lot of lakes. And on one of those lakes, there is a medieval castle, which is very nice to visit. So you can go by train. Just you have to walk quite a lot from the train station or bus station, maybe 40 minutes. So maybe it's better to rent a car. And there, so I would visit the castle. It's about €12 per person. And I would stroll down the lake, because Lithuania has many beautiful lakes. There's about 2,000 lakes in the whole of Lithuania, and 4 or 5 lakes in Trakai village. You have to try also kibine, which is a typical Karayims dish. So Karayims are a Turkish minority. This pastry is made authentically with lamb. It's really nice to try. It costs a few euros. And not a lot of people do it, but I would rent a water bicycle and do a small stroll in the lake because it's very peaceful and very nice, and it costs about 5 euros for half an hour. And it's very safe, very nice, very chill. One other thing I would recommend in Trakai is a hiking trail. Varnikių pažintinis takas. So it's really short, about 2-3 kilometers. It's easy to get there by car, and so I would go there because also the beauty of Lithuania is nature and lakes. Then coming back from Trakai, if you still have some energy and you want to squeeze out the maximum from your stay in Lithuania, if you come early enough, you can go to the KGB museum, which is a very sad museum. It used to be a KGB prison. It's located on the Champs-Élysées of Vilnius, Gedimino Avenue, Gedimino Prospectus. It's opened, you have to check the hours because on Monday and Tuesday it's closed, and I think it's open until 6 o'clock. And they don't let in people 30 minutes to prior the closing of the museum, so you just have to check the hours. But it's very interesting to understand the Lithuanian history, and the exposition there is very nice. And afterwards, you can go to Lukiškės prison. So this used to be a prison. In Vilnius, it has been closed due to inhumane conditions for the prisoners. But now the government lets one entrepreneur have it and make concerts and have a bar there. They even dance Lindy Hop on winter evenings there. So it's really a strange place, Lukiškių prison, where you can have a drink, have a spritz aperol or Lithuanian beer, and a unique place to go. And also Stranger Things was filmed there, so it's quite a scenic place. Day 3. So I would do a day trip to Kaunas. It's the second biggest city of Lithuania. It used to be between the two wars the capital of Lithuania. And there I would go by train. It's very accessible. Don't forget to use Bolt or Uber. And I would go there to Kaunas Castle. And then I would go to Vilnius Street. And one thing you must do is visit this old donut shop, Soviet donut shop, where nothing has changed for 40 years, not even the woman that sells the donuts. And it's really an experience. They might be unfriendly, but it's part of the experience because it's Soviet waitress style. And it's cheap, very good, very fresh, so it's really unique experience. On the way to Kaunas, there's also a beautiful monastery which is called Pažaislio vienuolynas. It's really incredible, it's very beautiful, you feel like you're in Florence when you're there. So I would stop there, have a coffee and visit the monastery, but also check the opening hours, Pažaislio vienuolynas, because they're open maybe from 10 to 3 or 4. So you have to check before going there, but it's a magnificent place. Day number 4. In one city that is not visited enough in Lithuania is Druskininkai. So it's in the south of the country, and it's known as a spa, a sanatorium city. And for me, it's an incredible city, and it's not explored enough by tourists. Actually, because most of the tourists, when they come to Lithuania, they will do the 3 Baltic states. So they would go to Vilnius, Kaunas, Kryžių kalnas, which is a hill of crosses, then Rundale, Riga, and then Tallinn. So it's not on their way, on their typical way, but I would really take one day, even better maybe to stay overnight in one full day. And there it's also very beautiful small town, let's say, with nice spas, with massage places, with restaurants, with an aqua park, but an aqua park has a private entry for adults where there's like 15 saunas, 5 jacuzzis. So it's really a unique experience to go there. Also, a famous place is a famous museum is Grūto Parkas. So this one entrepreneur, after the independence, everybody wanted to get rid of Lenin, Stalin's sculptures and all of these signs of the communism. So one entrepreneur gathered all those statues and brought them to Grūto Parkas, which is in Druskininkai. And there you can visit this museum and what Lithuania looked 30 years ago. This is the end. This is my itinerary. Please write to me if you have any questions. I really love my job. I will help you organize your stay. And if you're looking at this channel, it's probably already because you know that Lithuania is the greatest country of the 3 Baltic states. So don't hesitate to come, visit, book your flight, and welcome to Lithuania.
So there you go, our 2 very different itineraries. Lina and I met up virtually to reveal our plans to each other, and here is a bit of that interaction.
I liked it. For Gediminas Hill, sometimes I leave it to last because it takes a lot of time, and yes, usually my clients are maybe a little bit older, so if they stay more than 3 days, then I suggest it. But of course, it's a great idea. The museum at Gediminas Tower is really nice, also about the Baltic human way. So that's really, really nice. One thing I liked that you put in is Paupys, because a lot of people miss it out. It's a new district next to Užupis Artist District. So it's like a very modern district with food courts. So I like that you put this in. Maybe also if we're comparing the 2 itinerary, I cheated a bit because I made more time. So like you said, Druskininkai is like if you have more time. Trakai is always a good option. Also by train, I think it's a little bit, you have to walk a lot, but also doable. So I agree with that. So usually I recommend Katpėdelė, Ethnodvaras, this is like the main chains of Lithuanian food, because they're cheap. You can try local dishes. But if you want something more local, then there won't be usually the Lithuanian food, because Lithuanians maybe eat less and less Lithuanian food, so it will be more like international cuisine and burgers. So usually I also recommend those chains. Or now that we have Michelin restaurants, if foodies want to try them, I recommend also like Ertlio Namas, which they have for 50 euros degustation dinner, which is really interesting, and you learn about the history also.
I took my wife to that for her birthday, so it was a very fun experience. It's like a tour and a history lesson and food at the same time. It's wonderful.
And how long did it last? Not too long for you?
I think they say on the website it's 2 hours.
I went like several years ago, and it was like 3 hours, so it was a little too much. But now if maybe they optimized it and it's shorter, so yeah, it's a great experience.
And so with your tours, I guess you ask your clients, what their budget is for food, and give them high range and low range options.
Yes, of course, and and they tell me like what they prefer, like high-end restaurants or cheaper ones, or like vegetarian foods. So there's plenty of choice in Vilnius.
The thing I like most about Lina's plan is that she included some Vilnius attractions that I didn't even think about. Stuff like going up to the bell tower at the university and going inside the church near the Gates of Dawn. Now, she did pack a lot more into her itinerary and even made the last day a near full day of activity. So if I knew that she was going to do that, then I think I would have squeezed in a day trip to Kaunas for my last day. Reflecting on the differences of our documents, it's clear that we designed our plans with very different audiences in mind. It's also clear who the professional is in this case. Well, like I said to Lina, her plan is ideal for people who want to do limited planning, but want to see as much as possible. I would say my plan is much slower paced and relaxed, with people able to really soak up the vibe of the Vilnius city center. But if you find that you or your friends and family could benefit from the services of a friendly and knowledgeable tour guide, well then.
I'm Lina. I am professional guide in the Baltic states in English and French, because I speak French also. So if you need a guide, if you need advice, so please come out, check out my website. I will help you. And I will make the best vacation for you.
And so my thanks again to Lina for collaborating on this fun little experiment. I've learned about some cool new places to take friends and guests the next time they visit. So what did you think about all of this? Is there anything that we missed or that you would do differently? Do let us know by leaving a comment. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.